step back, three for the tie. Oh, he's done it again. They get it to him. More in space. A burst of speed. A first down for Purdue. He's still going. More. Cuts back. Touchdown. Oh, like each one more.
Breathe, Chris. Breathe. The game's over. It's okay.
He's muted.
You're muted.
It's the first day. Holy crap. Sorry, that took like 37 years off my life. I'm just all discombobulated and don't know what's going on.
Come on.
Well, I vomited twice during that.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
So, and
mine
now
was because of the whiskey, but that's besides the point. Anyway, welcome everybody to another episode of the Boiler Express podcast. We got Frank, Dylan, and from the Leo podcast, Brandon. Thank you for joining us tonight, Brandon.
Did you like the double salute? I didn't know what that was, but that's what the military should do now.
Jesus.
One isn't good enough, honestly.
It's
Exactly.
not. But yeah, we'd like to remind you guys that we are with Big Banter Sports, a bunch of 13 different podcasts that cover Big Ten sports and everything like that. They've got a big list. You can go check them out. We're all really good teams, really good podcasts, really good group of dudes.
Most of them.
Yeah, definitely not all of them. We won't call them out, but you know who you are.
I'm glad you're on the same page.
You know who. We carry some water, boys. We
Yeah,
carry
I
some
mean,
water.
my back's sore, bro.
It's you guys, us, and the Ohio pod that really run things around here, but you know,
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah, it is what it is. But also want to send a shout out to our sponsors, Cincy Blitzboards at cincyblitzboards.com. They've got these awesome tailgate games. You can take them to parties, tailgates,
There it is.
just randomly playing for no reason, make a drinking game out of it. I don't care what you do, but they are awesome. Check them out on Twitter. Also, we'd like to thank Martin Vintage. They've got awesome vintage Purdue apparel. If you use the promo code BXP at checkout, you get 10% off your order. So check them out. They're awesome dudes over there as well. Next, we will talk with Brandon here from the Leo podcast. Introduce yourself a little bit, Brandon.
First of all, Chris, you're killing me with the Leo podcast. We're not into astrology or whatever here at Indiana football. This is the LEO podcast.
Nah, I'm gonna say Leo. It sounds easier.
Which is Tom Allen's mantra.
We'll get to Tom.
I will tell
Tom.
you, we are we're shopping names, so I probably won't take any suggestions from you guys, but I highly doubt in 9 months we will be the LEO podcast anymore. But you know, I'm sure, right? They call that
I'll
a
send
little
you some ideas.
That's foreshadowing.
a teaser. There's a teaser in the biz here, fellas.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, we do 2 podcasts a week, all about IU football, right? We don't mess with IU basketball. That is a whole different other kind of fan base and a whole different kind of world. So we do IU football only, right? Which is just a joy, right? Like we love our lives. We live really good ones. It's a super happy time. But yeah, we drop 2 podcasts every week. During the season, one a week. On the off season, we're everywhere you can find podcasts. We're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on Android, we're freaking everywhere. And then we also have a social media on everywhere, just at podcast LEO or at LEO podcast. Sorry, reverse that.
Leo podcast, got it.
Yeah. Possibly formerly named.
Formerly
LEO
known.
With the
Yeah.
we'll just add the
So, no, excited to have you guys on, man. A little my back history here. I don't know if this will get you guys jazzed up to talk with me or not jazzed. I have zero problem with Purdue. as someone who didn't grow up in Indiana, as someone who hates Kentucky way more than Purdue,
Agreed.
like
Right.
I don't come in with any inherent biases towards Purdue. Now, I think we're definitely going to throw jabs at enough of each other because we have to, right?
Yeah.
But none of this is coming because my grandpa told me to hate Purdue. No, so there's going to be none of that.
My family's
from
hated Purdue since 1869.
right. So there's going to be none of that. I think there's plenty of reasons to clown on you guys, but none of that will be because my
Likewise.
grandpa's uncle's brother told me I have to. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
I
we'll
like this
kind of.
guy. I like
Yeah,
him a
I
lot.
like this already. Yeah.
Uh,
I guess we'll kind of kick it off with talking about a little bit of the football program down south. And we'll kind of start it off with what are your thoughts on Mr. Allen?
Incompetent, gross negligence, lack of organizational control.
So sign him to a lifetime contract is what you said.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, I've made this comparison a lot on the LEO podcast, but like I think it's not fair to separate professional sports and other professions, right? The guy cannot hire any coordinators. The guy can't keep any talent. He can't hire, which is basically recruit at any consistent level whatsoever. If he was in any other job at a high level management or executive position, he would have been fired ages ago. But unfortunately, the standard for IU football is so low. He is riding coattails from 3 to 4 years ago. So the guy's a joke. He should have never got the job. He should have never got the extension. And luckily,
that one really good season you guys had really kind of kept him hanging on for dear life.
God, doesn't that sound like Tom Crane a lot, gentlemen?
yeah.
Doesn't that just sound like Tom Crane an awful lot? That's actually made probably an insult to Tom Crane a little bit, but yeah, no, Tom absolutely has to go. And I know this is a super long-winded answer, gentlemen. I apologize, but in my mind, going into this season, this was win-win. We were going to suck like we do now and go 3-8, and Tom was going to get fired, or we were going to do well and go to a bowl game, which would have been a win. So there was no negative outcome, in my opinion, to this season. I don't know if you ask other IU fans if they'll have the same opinion, but honestly, if you had to ask me, if you asked me in August, would you rather go 4-8 or 7-5 and go to a bowl? I'd say 4-8 and Tom Allen get fired.
Yeah. I can see that. And it's definitely like, I remember during the Purdue IU game last year with just some of his awkwardness. He's just very that whispery, like relentless. Like, what are you doing, guy? Yeah, and snapping and stuff. Like,
So what's your thoughts on snapping the fight song?
And he even like changed the tune on it. It's offensive and weird and cringy and whatever the kids are saying nowadays. It's that.
It's that.
It's very cult-like, I feel like.
Yes.
So do you believe so for anyone who doesn't know, Purdue's playing Indiana this weekend, this Saturday at noon Eastern for the Old Oaken Bucket. Old Oaken Bucket. Do you believe this will be Tom Allen's last game as a coach?
100%. Win, lose, or draw.
We'll keep this at our place. Okay.
And so
Yeah,
I know
I'll be excited to see how you guys think that's even remotely possible. But well, that's the nuts and bolts we'll get into later.
Well, and so every fan base, they go through a coaching change. All sorts of names get thrown out. But are there any names getting thrown out that you think are a realistic possibility for Indiana at this point?
So it's
Deion.
the world's worst kept secret. There's been nothing thrown out because IU media, for some reason, has to. Again, I've used this term twice. I'll try to find a new one, but has to carry their water. So no one's acting like this is going to happen. I feel like the LEO podcast is the only one outwardly saying Tom Allen is going to get fired. That might be because we have some sources inside the program, maybe not. I'll let you guys determine that. But yeah, so no names have been thrown around. Now, we've talked about it. After we got our butts kicked against Maryland, we didn't even do a recap. Guys, we didn't even do a recap of the game. All we talked about were head coaching replacements. I like Brian Hartline from Ohio State. I like Colin Klein from Kansas State. I like Zinter from Michigan. The one that Michael won't shut up about, and I hated it months ago. Now I'm coming around to it. Antoine Randall L. He's coached in the NFL for about a decade. He's never done any coordinating. He's been a positions coach. He's been an offensive analyst. You know, he's never been a coordinator or a head coach. But our new motto is make Indiana football fun again. Because it's just not fun at all. Antoine Randall L is the most fun option. Yeah. We could suck and go 2-10 again. Or go 3-9 again. Guess what? There's nothing different. So that's I gave you the 3 options, realistic options that I like. Antoine Randall L is like, why not?
At this point,
yeah, I mean, he has, he has a decent amount of coaching experience, and when I think about the heyday of Indiana football in my life, it was the years of Antoine Randall L. We've actually talked about him on our podcast before. But I want to go back to something you said, a second ago, and that was, making Indiana football fun again. It's right now, it just doesn't look like a lot of fun. Like people aren't going to games. I've yet to go to a game at Indiana. I know these 2 guys have. But it's my understanding that everyone kind of parties and tailgates, and then they all go home and watch the game on TV, or they just kind of hang out, but no one actually goes to the game. So what needs to change? Is it the product on the field, or is it something culturally, in your opinion, that needs to change to kind of get people to go in the stadium and watch the game?
So I hate the word culture, just to be honest, Frank. I think culture is a BS word. I think winning creates culture. I think it's as simple as that. But what I will have to say, and I don't know if you guys have ever been to a game, probably not. The in-game experience at IU
sucks.
Yeah,
the sound stinks. The screen stinks. They like the halftime entertainment is non-existent. They've done the same in between timeouts, in between quarter stuff that they've done for a half a decade. They don't interact the students at all.
But they got really cool suites now in the end zone.
You're not again, I know you mean that as like a joke, but like they thought that was serious.
They thought that was awesome.
They like the old curmudgeons that can afford that are already going. Like, who cares about them? Right? Like, nobody cares about them. They can just sign their donor checks and be done with it, right? So like it's culture. God, you just win. That creates culture. Who cares?
I'll be honest. This is kind of my opinion with IU athletics as a whole. And aside from like women's basketball, who's been really good, I honestly think that IU is kind of in the same situation that Purdue was pre the Bobinski hire at athletic director. I think what it's going to take is you're going to have to change athletic directors so it is a top-down, front-to-back, complete wipe of how you guys have been doing things for the last 10 years.
Chris, right now you're the smartest guy on the podcast.
I wouldn't say that.
I want to go ahead and say that. It's absolutely a Scott Dolson athletic director. He carries the water again for the 3rd time. That's 3 times. God, that is terrible podcasting. For the athletic department, he's just a puppet, man. He sucks in every single way. So it's absolutely an athletic director problem. That's spot on.
Attaboy, Chris. Look at you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. Big brain.
So in terms of product on the field this season, what's been a little bit different than you expected? What hasn't lived up to the hype or maybe the preseason expectation, and what surprised you so far?
Well, I wouldn't say there was much preseason expectations. The win total was 3, so I'd say the expectations are met as far as Vegas is concerned. But I would say the offense is leaps and bounds to where I thought it would be. Indiana has a quarterback. I'm sure we'll get into this, but I don't think there are a lot of other Big Ten teams that can say they have a quarterback moving into the next year and years beyond. Brendan Sorsby is a guy. He is absolutely a guy. They have Trent Howland, who appears to be a guy. They have Donovan McCulley, who's just absolutely insane. The defense is terrible. They gave up 600 yards to a Ball State walk-on. So if anything, like a disappointment's been the defense for sure. But I think that's what's exciting for the new hire is he inherits a QB1, an RB1, and a wide receiver 1 that all have at least 3 years of eligibility left. That's something to build upon. You're totally recreating the defense. Aaron Casey's all Big Ten. I think everyone knows. You watch the Big Ten Network, they won't stop talking about him. He's gone. The defense is shot, right? The defense is shot. It's going to be bad next year. It's probably going to be bad for the next few years. But there is some offensive talent that's going to be around for a while if they decide to stay. So I'd say that surpassed expectations, and that's the momentum IU football will carry into the offseason.
So another question I have for you. Well, actually, I'm going to backtrack in 1 second. So let's address this viewer comment here. I'm not sure how to pronounce this word.
Buffaloes?
Buffalo. Yeah. I'm not sure what that is. So what are your feelings on Buffaloes?
Oh, it's top tier college town food without a doubt. So I mean, it's wings, it's sandwiches, it's an awesome little like IU memorabilia restaurant right there on campus. It's incredible. It's like kind of parking lot adjacent to Kilroy's, so you can go to Buffalo's, eat a little bit, go to Kilroy's, drink a little bit. It's pretty mecca, pretty top tier.
So what's the history of Indiana or IU at least and the Buffalo mascot? Where did that? I've always been confused on that idea.
Bro, I told you I became a fan in 2006. I have no clue. It's cool. I got no idea. I don't know. We don't have a mascot, so like you got to attach yourself to something.
Well, it was
right?
a rocket one time, wasn't it?
Oh, would you say a rocket as in a ship?
Oh, no, like a rock, like a stone.
Yeah, that was something to like commemorate our coach that
passed away. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that was ever a mascot more than it was like a memento.
Right.
Like
does Purdue Pete scare you?
Not as much as the Wake Forest Demon Deacon.
Okay.
But
that thing's terrifying.
That thing's terrifying.
Yeah, didn't they like the St. Joseph basketball like Piper or whatever?
It is a bison, right? Nick, you're right. It's a bison. My bad.
So
Buffalo bison, same thing.
Yeah, dude, Nick's all over it. But yeah, so it's creepy. It's up there, but it's not the worst, right? Like as a Steeler fan, Frank can get this. Like it's got a little bit of Steely McBeam in him, right?
Is that the Steelers mascot's name?
Yeah, and he does kind of look like
clean.
Purdue Pete a little bit.
Yeah,
I've seen him. I just didn't know his name was Steely McBeam.
Steely McBeam. Yeah.
That's
like I can't sit here as a Steeler fan and like rip Purdue Pete and like lie that I don't have a Steely McBeam t-shirt. So like, I'm not gonna be the pot calling the kettle black here, guys.
Man, self-accountability. I like it.
That the Yinzer accent's my favorite.
We got someone getting a little stern in the comments, wanting to know what your thoughts were on IU dropping their series with Louisville.
Who's Ultimate Boiler? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, nerd.
Followed it up with "Don't ignore me."
I mean, he is the ultimate, guys. I don't know if you know.
Allegedly.
He's the ultimate. I mean, it's a no-brainer ultimate. Like, look at Michigan's schedule. No one's like, oh, they're scheduling some top teams. No one cares who you play in the non-conference, especially with the Big Ten that's inheriting Oregon and USC.
Yeah.
You schedule cupcakes. Like, you don't get, this isn't elementary school. You're not getting gold stars for playing a tough out of conference. You get absolutely nothing. So, I guess people were ripping IU for dropping Louisville. No, those people don't understand the inner workings of college athletics. You get nothing for playing tough
but
teams.
I think I will contest that with, you look at Louisville now, who's currently 10th in the country, that's played the 112th toughest schedule. Had they maybe had a couple more difficult teams in non-conference, it would have offset some of the cupcakes they played during the regular season and maybe had a better chance of going to the college football playoff.
No, tell these guys don't lose the pit, Louisville. It's as simple as that.
Also true.
You don't lose the pit. You're not talking about, we go to soft schedule. No, just don't lose the pit.
Talking about. There it is.
Yeah, I think, as someone who lives in the city of Louisville, all these talk about, we should be in the playoffs and whatnot. I think that's going to be the biggest thing that keeps them out, assuming they beat Florida State.
Which is probably very likely.
It's a little bit more likely due to a really unfortunate injury that we saw.
Dude, that was gross, guys.
It was so bad.
Yeah, for anyone who
wasn't
didn't
quite
see it,
Dak,
don't Google it.
but
Seriously,
it's
Don't
the worst
Google it.
football.
Don't
It's the
look it
worst
up.
football injury
Same.
I've seen since Dak Prescott. That was gnarly, man.
Oh,
But I do want to address Ultimate Boiler's comment. Tell these guys that I love some false hope and start 3-0. I mean, yeah, someone should tell whoever's scheduling our games that, because the only non-Power 5 team we played was Fresno State, who's no joke, right? Then we went to Virginia Tech and played Syracuse at home.
That's just dumb. That's dumb by your athletic board. Like
thanks to the Ultimate Boiler for being a great listener, by the way.
So Brandon, so you're just to be clear, you're in favor of the strategy of you should schedule the cupcakes and start 3-0 in the Big Ten, because knowing that you're going into the Big Ten, it's a gauntlet, right? And so if you win any type of a postseason, you need to have those guaranteed 3 wins.
Yeah, I mean, we all know we live in an NIL world, right? What's going to get people to pony up? Going to a bowl game, baby. Getting that BS trophy, getting that cool shirt, getting that whatever. Bowl games are going to bring money. Regular season games against Virginia Tech and Louisville isn't getting donors to donate any money. Like, that's just a reality of 2023 college football.
But how long does that continue to be the case when you start having guys sit out, when you start having players transfer, when so little anecdote time. I went to Purdue's bowl game against LSU. I mean, and we all know how that went. Don't need to talk about that.
I forgot what.
But like the experience, honestly, like it wasn't fun. I mean, I'm just to put it bluntly, the product on the field was terrible. Our coach had already left. We've got a skeleton crew of a team. Guys are starting.
His brother was our head coach. So
yeah. I mean, so
cool.
now I know that's a bit of an outlier, but that's not like too far of an outlier for a lot of programs. They're seeing third string players and whatnot. So I mean, in this era where players are sitting out and transferring and whatnot, how much longer will that be the case? Like, how much does the postseason matter? Because like it used to be that people would plan their vacations around bowl games. It used to be a ton of fun. Like you get your friends go on a road trip, drive 16 hours for the bowl game, but they're getting to a point now where they're just not fun anymore. The players aren't taking them seriously. So just want to get your thoughts on that.
I promise I'm not being combative, because I'm mostly not a combative person.
No, it's fine. Let's fight. No, I'm joking.
You still made the vacation, right? Like,
I
did. Paid the
Yeah.
ticket. You still made the trip. You were excited up until about 3 minutes into the game. You didn't donate afterwards, right? If you did donate, if you didn't donate, you donated when you bought the tickets. You donated before the game, right? That's what a bowl game does. It builds up hope. It builds up momentum. It builds up everything, right? So you're right. That was a terrible experience. The LEO podcast, Chris, not the Leo podcast,
Leo,
went to the Gator Bowl against Tennessee, and IU had a 97% chance to win that game, and then lost in IU fashion down there. It was the worst loss I've ever seen in person, right? But if you would have asked me the month leading up to that game, I thought IU had turned the program around and they were essentially going to be, the new Michigan State, right? So I disagree on your bowl take. I think the result doesn't matter. It's that 3 to 4 weeks before the game that matter way more than the 3 or 4 days before you play Syracuse at home.
Yeah, you make a really good point. I mean, ultimately, I did buy a plane ticket, buy a ticket to go down there. It got me in the seat. So the product didn't, the product on the field and the experience wasn't.
It was the
significant,
Cheez-Its.
so.
The Cheez-Its is what got you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
I
it
ate
was all
so
those.
many Cheez-Its like 2 months after.
At least it wasn't mayo, right? At least you weren't just mainlining mayo.
And it
So-
wasn't in a baseball stadium.
That's only
so-
on Tuesdays.
The bowl game you're referring to, was that the game against Duke?
No, that was against Tennessee in the
Gotcha.
2019 season.
Is that the pinstripe? No.
Pinstripes in this Yankee Stadium. That's when IU lost on the field goal that was made.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the
Football
one
and
that went
baseball
over
stadiums.
top of the uprights? Is that
Yeah.
what it was? Yeah, I remember that game. Okay, for some reason I thought they played. You all did play Duke in a bowl game. Is that right?
We did.
Yeah.
We lost that one too. We haven't
Yeah,
won a
I'm
bowl
so-
game
yeah.
since 1993. So
Getting my
Hell, I was
getting my
born in
bowl games
96.
mixed up.
So
Yeah.
I guess I look at scheduling those tough teams the kind of the same way I do with basketball season. Like going through those meat grinders early prepares you for the big games later in the season. I'm looking at it from the actual team side of it.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Basketball makes all the sense in the world because of the net rankings and the strength of schedule
right.
and the seed. So basketball makes all the sense in the world, right? I think it's 180 in basketball. The Michigan States and the Purdues of the world have been doing it right for years now by scheduling it very, very tough. That doesn't matter. What matters in college football is getting to 6 wins. Literally nothing else matters except getting to 6 wins. Quality of wins don't matter. Like you go to the bowl based on the association of the bowl, based on your standings in conference play. Like you don't get any extra credit for beating Louisville.
But I'll counter that with that the committee, when it expands to 12, will look at those strength of schedules and the teams you play.
Well, I definitely think it matters if you're a championship caliber team.
Right.
But
and
let's
I
be
guess,
realistic
yes.
here. Neither one of our teams we're talking about today are going to be in that scenario.
Right.
And Brandon, I'm going to be honest. You are realistically challenging my thinking on this because I have been you want to be battle tested. You want to go into conference play with your weaknesses exposed. I guess that's because we're kind of a basketball school right now.
Yeah,
it kind of oscillates, but so yeah, it makes a ton of sense in basketball. Yeah. And
I like the points.
I'm thinking about this differently now. I'm going to be honest with you. It's
all that matters is the amount of win. Like you go to a better bowl game if you win 7, if you win 8, if you win 9.
And
it
honestly,
doesn't matter who you beat. It does not matter who you beat.
And honestly, if you have cupcake games at the beginning of the season up until this year, you could get more wins in Big Ten season, and then you have a better chance going to the championship game where anything can really happen.
Exactly.
No. Exactly. Yeah, I understand.
Going over here.
Yeah, I understand the thought process.
I'm super smart, guys. I'm just telling you that right now. Like I'm you guys are lucky to have me on is where I'm getting at.
We are. It's been a blessing.
So here's an interesting comment. I may be on the wrong side of this argument. We got a comment from Nick Rose. I may be on the wrong side of this argument, but I don't want to win 6 or 7 games because we played Bowling Green and Ball State. Then go to a bowl game and get beat by 60 by LSU. So Nick, I would love for you to follow up to this. Would you rather go to a bowl game and lose by 60, or would you rather just not go to a bowl game at all because you didn't have a good enough record to get there?
Can I eviscerate Nick real quick? Can I just eviscerate?
Yes.
Please, dude. Nick, what is more important? Being home on your couch at 5-7 or selling to recruits that you go to a bowl game against LSU? What do 17-year-old kids want to do? They want to moss LSU. They want to pick off their 5-star quarterback. They want to play in a big game environment. They don't care. They absolutely don't care if we played a tough schedule and went 4-8. They don't care. What do high school kids want? They want to win games and play on big time TV stations. That's what matters, Nick. Like what you want on your couch, I'm sorry. That like if you don't feel good about beat Bowling Green, your feelings don't matter. It's what you can sell to a 17-year-old kid to come play for your football program. Is that too mean?
No, you can be super mean to Nick. That's fine. Nick deserves it.
Did I make a good point there? Or was
you made a really good point. And
I do kind of follow into Frank's thought process of with everybody sitting out. Like I still feel like some of these bowl games that aren't college football playoff games kind of lose their what's the word I'm looking for? Going to the Outback Bowl might not be what it was now compared to 1999.
Sure.
Because, we had our number 1 quarterback, number 1 wide receiver, number 1 everything end up leaving because of the going to the NFL. And I understand that, but I think sometimes I wonder if it's going to lose that star power, maybe is the right way to, or the bright lights of a bowl game, if that makes sense.
I think you can sell that to recruits even more. Like, hey guys, we just went put this many people in the NFL, and maybe you're not there yet, but you're gonna get to go play in a bowl game. Well, where you weren't able to go play in a bowl game because you rode the pine for 4 months, but now you're gonna get to play in a bowl game, and that's gonna prime you up for the offseason. That's gonna prime you up for training camp. That's gonna prime you up for the next year. Again, it's all recruit. Like 2023 college football is about two things: getting donors to donate to the collective and recruiting, right? Nothing like if you can't tie an action to those two things, you shouldn't be doing it. And that's why Tom Allen has failed, because he hasn't done either one of those two things ever.
I mean, that's just.
I feel like I've been mean, so I wanted to self-own my own program for a second.
No.
Because while it was true,
No, you're not. You're not being mean at all. This is really good discussion. I feel like you should have dropped your microphone like right there. That would have been a great mic drop.
But I
looked
also, at the
expensive,
same
maybe
time,
not.
I like the idea of playing a really easy schedule at the beginning because it builds that confidence against dirtbag teams, and that might actually help you.
But then
going
remember
in.
the years we used to lose to MAC schools in the first 3 games. So I mean,
then just be better.
yeah.
If you
that's
can't
so-
beat
Yeah.
Mag School,
that
it's
was
just
the
like-
Hazel years, and those were tough years that we don't want to talk about.
Got a comment here. Please
Why
fight
was-
Chris. I
why?
love this.
Why
yeah.
me? I'm
Yeah. And
yeah.
then here's let's
Chris is the only one I've complimented so far.
let's take a look at Nick's response here. I haven't read it yet. I just saw it came through. He also made another comment, which I'm not gonna put on the screen. But I agree with Brandon, but I also agree with Chris. It just stinks. The key players that even have a remote chance of seeing an NFL practice squad aren't even playing in those bowl games. Yeah. I mean, so I think.
But how are those players helping your program next year? Bowl games, unless you're playing in a New Year's 6 or the college football playoff, those games don't matter. They're exhibitions. What they are a ticket to sell your current players, and they're a ticket to sell your future players. That game means nothing.
Yeah.
It means nothing.
Yeah.
So it seems like you have just accepted the reality that is modern college football, and it's just like, hey, like you're either in or you're out. And
Look at Kansas. There has been no
Yeah,
program
great.
that has decided we're going to win games, we're going to upgrade the game day experience, and we're going to get our donors to pony up. And look at Kansas.
I want to check in on this comment here from Nick Burris. That's actually very true. Never even thought of it like that. Brandon's out here changing everybody's mind.
Yeah.
Boom.
That's awesome.
Dude, I
Yeah.
love that whole conversation. That was great.
No, that was
Good
that.
one.
That was
Yeah.
some of the most engaging.
That was the smartest
conversation.
anyone's ever sounded on this podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
And you guys realize where I went, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys made that correlation.
Hey, hats off, man.
Look,
They're
look
really,
at us
really.
bringing Indiana
yeah.
and Purdue fans together. Look
Yeah.
at us. Who'd have thought?
Well,
No,
so
that's
talking about two teams who aren't going to bowl
Who would have
games.
thought? Who would have
Yeah.
thought? You and me.
Look at us.
Look at us.
So talking about two teams who aren't going to bowl games, we are, we're playing for the Old Oaken Bucket. Brandon, in your opinion, what does Indiana have to do to win this guy? I don't know how much Purdue, you've watched this season,
Yeah.
if any. But what in your mind has to happen, at least on Indiana's end, to come away with a win on Saturday?
For the love of God, stop the run, which we've done fairly well. Ohio State didn't run on us. Michigan didn't run on us. Penn State didn't run on us. Wisconsin didn't run on us. I'm not too worried about Purdue run. No, you guys got two studs. Tracy and Huckabee are some guys.
Maccabee.
Maccabee, sorry.
It's okay. Leo
Um,
podcast, Huckabee. It's fine.
They're really, really good running backs. My point is IU's already faced really, really good running backs. So if we can put up the rush defense that we did against those teams, I'm not sure how Purdue moves the ball or scores the ball. So I think this game is going to be won on either Purdue's going to be able to run the ball and they're going to go up and down the field and not be stopped, or IU's going to stop the run and this game's going bet the under.
Yeah, I mean, so we have seen two different versions of Hudson Card this season. We have Hudson Card against, it's hard to say Hudson Card against Michigan. We've seen Hudson Card against Syracuse. We saw Hudson Card against Minnesota. We didn't see Hudson Card at all last week.
Are we seeing him this week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently everything's good. Apparently he was pretty close to being ready to go this past Saturday. But they called it a bruise. I've heard bruised rib. I heard cracked rib, but he's basically been playing through injuries all season.
Hey, listen, I've done the podcast on a bruised rib, so let's have some respect.
Yeah, so I'm interesting comment here, which I'll loop into this. 300 plus yards on the ground for the Boilers in 2 straight weeks for the first time since 1968. But you aren't worried about the run.
So Russ, go. So I can clearly tell you just haven't done any stat looking at all. Would you say your two running backs are better than Penn State's, Michigan's, and Ohio State's? At best, they're even. At best, they're even. We didn't give up 200 yards to any of those teams. So I'm going to put the history of what we've done against what you guys have done against not us. So I don't know. Put me in a bag, Johnny.
So-
Put me in a bag.
Were those games road games or home games?
Penn State on the road, Michigan on the road, Ohio State home.
Why are the other two guys on this podcast so active in the comments, but they couldn't actually come on the podcast? Is my question. Why Ultimate Boiler, aka Damon and Russ, are the other two of this podcast, and they're so busy over there tip tapping, but they can't come on the show? What are we doing?
They're scared, boys. They're scared.
We're used to being the subject matter expertise, but like you haven't made a single bad point. You've made a lot of points that have made me go, oh, okay, yeah. Because I've usually got some pretty good counter arguments, but I don't have any.
Also, like debating and negotiating is like what I do for a living. So like I get jazzed up for this stuff, guys.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, if you're comfortable sharing, can I ask what you do for a living? Because you're
absolutely,
really good at it.
absolutely not. That's going to cost you. Normally, people have to pay to ask me that question.
Understood. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. We got a comment here from the
Ohio. Guys, I do nothing. I'm a freaking contract salesman, so that's
man, you have the gift of gab. You're very good at that. So,
hey, shout out to Eric from the Ohio Pod. Sent me 2 Ohio State hockey tickets, so that's pretty rad.
Dope.
That'll be fun.
So, are we playing nice? I feel like we're
I'm having a great time. There are worse podcasts in this network, and you are definitely not one of them.
No, and like you've apologized for being mean. I don't perceive any meanness. I just think we're having a good sports talk.
I'm having a good time.
As you can tell, I get worked up though pretty easily.
That's what you want in a podcast. You don't want some guy that's going to sit here and just. You want to get fired up.
Yeah. I think this is what you would call banter. I think.
Ooh.
Yep.
But, so how are you guys beating IU? Like I want to ask like how. Let's not talk about the run game anymore because I think you guys are gonna say, well, we're gonna be able to run. Then I'm gonna say, well, we're gonna stop it. So what are some other factors in this game that you think you guys can take advantage of IU on either side of the ball?
I'm gonna just one more thing about the run game. And I promise that'll be the last thing. Our ability to run the ball has just been like a coin toss. Like there have been games this season, like Minnesota comes to mind, where we got on here, we talked with the Sky U podcast, and they were like, neither team's going to be able to run the ball in this game, and then we have 2 guys go off for over 100 yards. It just so like I don't know what to expect from this team every week. I don't know which offensive line is going to show up. I don't know which Hudson Card is going to show up. I don't know which Tyrone Tracy and Devin Mockabee are going to show up. But I think ultimately we have to score points. I mean, and that's been Purdue's problem all season. We just lost our 5th game where we've had a higher net success rate than our opponent, but lost the game. So all season, it's drive down the field, turn it over. Drive down the field, miss a field goal. Drive down the field, go for it on 4th down, don't convert. Yeah. So we have to be focused on putting points up on the board. That's how we win this game, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't been frustrated, but I'm frustrated now, especially after this last game. And we have 3 trips, 2 trips to the red zone, 3 trips in scoring position, and come away with 0 points. We score in any one of those, we win the game.
Hudson Card playing, Frank, is huge. IU has been lit up by dudes named Caton Hauser and John Paddock. Those aren't good quarterbacks. I'm sorry. Hudson Card is better than both of those quarterbacks. If you guys try running the ball, I'm telling you, it's not gonna work. But if Hudson Card can remotely throw the ball, you guys can put up 24 to 28 points.
Yeah, but rushing the football, you guys are in the bottom half of rush defense. You're 70th in the country at 154.3 yards a game. Like you aren't top 10, so it's not outside the realm of possibility that we could go bananas.
Sure. Let's see it.
Okay.
Yeah. The only team that really beat us on the ground, and I hate that I'm even bringing this up, Louisville did pretty good on the ground. But that was early in the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a totally different Louisville team just from a knowledge standpoint as well.
But I'm telling you, like if you guys let Hudson Card cook, that's how you're going to beat IU. So I answered your question for you guys.
Yeah. I think that's
Caden
fair.
Hauser just lit up. Dude, Caden Hauser stinks. Caden Hauser is not a good quarterback, and he just lit IU up. That's embarrassing. Super, super embarrassing.
Now, so in your opinion, was that an issue with defensive scheme? Was that an issue with coverage, or was it just the quarterback having a good day?
No, there's no guys back there.
Okay.
There's just Noah Pierre went down, who was our 5th-year senior. He led the things. Ooh, that's a good point, Russ. And we got cooked that game. Yeah, the Wimset ran, I think, for like half of that himself.
Billion. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good point, Russ. Called
so,
out.
For anyone who's listening and not watching, Russ made a comment here. Rutgers ran for 276 yards.
Somebody went stat taking. Good, you earned it. I made you do that. You're welcome. You just spent 90 seconds on me.
Don't give Russ too many compliments. There's no need for that.
Yeah, Russ is our resident historian here. So
one, because he's old as shit, and two,
so I mean, Purdue
nurses let him stay up this late. To be honest,
no doubt.
Purdue's pretty banged up. We've lost a couple of receivers. We've lost our 2 best members of the secondary outside of Dylan Thieneman, but we have lost our 2 best corners. We're thin at inside linebacker. Our offensive line, we're down to 3rd string in a couple of positions.
Most positions.
They've been kind of rotating around. Guys are playing center, tackle, guard. What's Indiana's injury status looking like going into this game?
Super thin at wide receiver, super thin in the secondary. The trenches, knock on wood, I mean, it's the last game. The trenches were pretty healthy, which is where I think this game is. You can say that about every game. It's pretty cliche, but I think this game gets the better team that's moving which side of the ball is gonna determine who wins this game.
I mean, both teams are a mash unit right now. Like, it is just, you are limping people out there.
Exactly.
Like, they are dressing managers to try and get corners out there. Like, it is just
seriously, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. The secondary is so beat up, which is why guys like John Paddock and Caden Hauser throw for a bazillion yards.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it will definitely. I agree with that. With whichever offensive line is, or whichever line is more effective, will definitely be the team to control the game.
Yeah, and the other one, and I should probably have done more research. I'm sure Russ will correct me on this one. Do you guys have like a killer defensive end or outside linebacker that can match the quarterback?
Two of them. They both lead the conference in sacks.
That's one and two. That's going to be an issue. That's going to be you can say this about every quarterback, but the only time Brendan Sorsby has shown that that he isn't going to get in a groove is he can get a little skittish, which he's a redshirt freshman quarterback. It's going to happen, right?
Is he mobile or kind of a pocket passer?
He's mobile, but he doesn't throw on the run. He tucks it and runs.
He'll scoot if he need to, but
exactly.
Okay. He's not Lamar chucking it.
No, right. he's not Talia getting out of the pocket and throwing the ball. No, he's either making his reads and throwing or tucking and running. He's not. There's not going to be designed rollouts. There's not going to be scramble drills where he spins out of it like Kenny Pickett does every single freaking play. And tries to throw the ball. There's going to be none of that. So if your edge rushers can really get there, that's going to be massive for you guys.
Yeah,
it sounds like they have. So
yeah, they're both top 5 in the conference in what PFF calls pass rushing productivity, which is just like percentage of time they get in the they cause havoc in the backfield with a little bit more weighting towards sacks. So we do have a comment here. Frank, you're the stat tank. Oh, that went away. We have to be the worst team in the country in red zone percentage, something like that. Top 10. Nick, we are actually the 9th worst red zone scoring percentage team in the country at 71% on the season so far. So
IU has to be up there. I don't know if you have that list in front of you, but IU has to be
I do. Let's IU is currently ranked 105th out of 133 teams. They are 76% on the season. So we're not too far off.
We're both bad. Again, this is an under game, gentlemen. I also host a gambling podcast, and this is an under game. Both teams can't score where it counts. Both teams lack big play ability. I don't see Purdue busting big runs. This is going to be a classic Big Ten brawl, and I don't mean that in a good way.
6-3 final score.
What's the
we're
gambling
talking Purdy
podcast?
Rutgers. So yeah, it's just right on NFL memes. We go live at 10. We go live at 10 o'clock
Nice.
every Saturday morning.
Nice.
So here we have a great comment. Sometimes I wonder where Dylan's mind wanders off to during some of these conversations.
Listen,
from the
Eric, you
Ohio
know
podcast.
you know me, ADD. I got the podcast. I got shout out to YouTube TV for 4 games at once.
Same.
You know, I can do multiple things at once. Luckily,
Luckily.
So
my
in
brain's off
terms
most of the time.
in terms of key players, for Purdue, 3 guys come to mind. I almost want to lump Kydron Jenkins and Nick Scorton as the edge rushers into one player, but yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to say the edge rushers. I'm going to say Dylan Thieneman, our true freshman free safety, and then I'm going to say Maccabee, just for the sake of disagreeing with you on something here today. Who do we have to watch out for from IU? If you had to pick 3 players to keep an eye on in this game, who could really be difference makers?
Yeah, so I'll change it up a little bit from what I said earlier. We really only have one guy on defense, and that's Andre Carter. He's going to get drafted. He's an absolute stud on our edge. So you're going to want to watch him, especially if Hudson Card is banged up. You're not going to want Andre Carter to have any encounters with Hudson Card. Donovan McCulley is absolutely a all Big Ten receiver. He can take over games. I don't know if you saw his Moss catch against Wisconsin. It was absolutely bananas. He's a stud. And then again, I mean, Brendan Sorsby, he's going to be a good quarterback in the Big Ten. I think he's shown that. So I'm not sure how many more years of eligibility does Hudson Card left. I feel like he's been in college
2.
forever. 2
this season, yeah, and then one after
one
this,
more.
I believe.
No,
Yeah.
he's got 3 total.
3 total. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I learned something.
Same with Sorsby. So then I really, for IU and Purdue fans, let's see which quarterback's better. Both quarterbacks got 3 years of eligibility after this, right? So let's see whose future is brighter under center in the position that matters the most, right? Hudson Card versus Brendan Sorsby. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, because he redshirted at Texas, I think, and then played when Ewers got hurt and then transferred here, so he's got 3 left.
Yeah.
So from someone, I like to ask this question, but for someone outside of the Purdue world, right? You're in the IU world, obviously, but what's the perception of the Purdue program right now? Is it good? Is it, they're terrible, they're 3-8, or is it, they're about to turn the corner? I mean, there are a lot of years where I can say I've said that about IU, right? They had that one season where it was like, man, they're just one season away, where they beat Michigan State at home in that overtime game. But just curious, I always want to know what the outside perspective looks like right now.
Hell is your identity after Braum? Like with Braum, you're like, their offense is probably gonna be pretty fun, right? Like they're gonna have a quarterback that surprises you, and they're gonna probably put up a lot of points. What is Purdue? Like, and I mean that as vague or as specific as you want to be. Like what does Ryan Walters bring? Is it gonna be a defense? Is it gonna be awesome corners? Is it going to be ground and pound run? Like I have not a clue of what Ryan Walters wants this program to be post Braum. So that would be my outside perspective, not following the program as closely as you guys and everyone listening.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that, I don't know if he's trying to figure out the answer to that still, but I know we as fans are. I think
I definitely know what his idea is going to be, because I think it matches a lot of what he did, at least on the defensive side of the ball at Illinois. It was lockdown corners, and everybody in the middle just causes havoc, be it rushing, crazy back end plays with linebackers and DBs, doing all that type of stuff. And I think that he wants to air the ball out, but he knows that we have two. I think post Maccabee and Tracy, you could definitely see us become more of that air raid style, but we have too good of running backs in the backfield to not utilize them more. I think that's what kind of killed us at the beginning of the year, and that's why I think you see Maccabee get frustrated. But I think the offensive side is more non-defined than the defensive side is. I know what Walters wants to do. I just don't think he has the players to do it. We don't have the Weatherspoons and the lockdown corners to leave alone on an island right now, because they're getting cooked like toast.
So my question to that is at least the first part, because I think the second part is the exciting part. Let's go back to modern college football.
Mhm.
Can you win with a lockdown defense? Michigan's going to show us if it's possible, because I don't think JJ McCarthy's any good. But I don't think you win modern college football, at least at the IU and Purdue level, with lockdown defense. I think you have to score. I think you just have to, especially in the transfer portal and how much movement there is. It's really hard to develop a lockdown defense. I think developing an offensive scheme is easier, and that's the path to the most possible success.
So I think the counter to that is you look at Georgia.
Or Iowa.
Or Iowa. Yeah, Iowa actually more. They've got a really, really, really good defense. We'll just use Georgia because they've won 2 national titles. Their defense has been really good, and I think that leaves if you have a really good lockdown defense, it creates more room for error on the offensive side of the ball because you've always got a group of guys who can either score, get the ball back, or at least just keep it close until your offense can figure it out. So that's kind of at least my thought.
So I think you're spot on. My question to you is: IU or Purdue ever going to be Georgia?
No, but I think that it's back to the thought process of defense wins championships. And
yeah, I don't go to that at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And
at least you're at that, unless you get to that tier.
Right. But I think even at the regular level, when you're playing the regular games, I'm not saying when we're playing Michigan or Ohio State, because those are outliers. But when we're playing Illinois, we're playing IU, we're playing Wisconsin. If you've got a lockdown defense, that keeps you in games at least a little bit if you're still working on trying to figure out what's going on the offensive side of the ball. Sure, both programs will never be to the point of Georgia, but I think it bears the recognition that, because I think a lot of the games that we've lost, the defense has been very good. The offense just hasn't complemented them, and they keep being on the field for 30 minutes of a 60-minute game, and they just get wore out.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking at the games again against imagine if you guys scored more than 15 points against Northwestern, right? You beat Minnesota because you put up 49, right? Imagine if you scored more against Nebraska, right? So I keep looking, your good wins are when you put up 44 points against Illinois, right? Your bad losses are when you just didn't score.
Yeah,
I would argue your defense didn't win you games, and I'd say your offense cost you games. Both answers are offense, guys.
Right.
Both answers are offense.
I will go to the opposite end of it because the offense was so okay. I see where you're getting at here. I get where I see where we're.
Yeah. You won because of your offense,
right?
And you lost because you couldn't score. So both of those is just have a good offense. I don't know. I've
been a defensive guy my whole life too. So.
I get it.
I mean, we're both Steelers fans. They're finding ways to win games with an inept offense. But I think overall, I do agree with you, in that So when we hired Walters, we had people saying, okay, we've just hired the next Kirk Ferentz, right? We're gonna have smash mouth defense and no offense, and neither side of the ball has been able to find any sort of consistency this season. Granted, we have had a ton of injuries, but that's just the nature of football. You're going to have injuries, but ultimately, I think it comes down to a certain previous coach leaving the program and leaving the cupboard pretty bare in terms of recruiting, in terms of personnel. I think you make a really good point in that we are still trying to figure out our identity. Is it that smash mouth defense? Is it the air raid? What are we? Because we knew who we were under Bra. We knew we were a team that was going to run and move the ball, throw for probably 500 yards, but also let the other team do the same. And we're going to get into a lot of shootouts.
But we really didn't know that year one either. I mean,
year one's so
remember.
Hard. Year one's so hard.
Because Walters lost when he was defensive coordinator at Illinois. They lost 4 of their first 5 games and gave up 35 points a game. So I think that it's very much year one under a new coach, unless it is hiring Ryan Day or somebody like that, is just a wash.
See,
You're
but
just
Purdue fans didn't think that. Have you seen Twitter the last
well, yeah,
3,
it's
4
because
weeks?
Twitter's stupid.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous.
I
They want
freaking
him
love Twitter.
fired. They want him
I
burned.
love-
They want him sent to. It's just
Yeah,
blows
they
my
want to
mind.
send them to the gallows because
This is horrible podcasting. I mean, fans are stupid.
They are.
Fans are stupid. I mean,
And let's
really
be honest,
serious.
at the end of the day, with all of us created this podcast because the Purdue Twitter was so damn toxic at times, even from some of the podcasts.
at least it exists. There is no such thing as IU football Twitter.
No,
It
no,
doesn't
not
even
at all.
exist. It doesn't even exist. Like I don't have to worry about you have to worry about making your listeners and fans mad. I can just say whatever I want because it's like me listening to my own podcast.
That's
So,
an interesting comment here. We are an air raid offense that runs a QB draw out of the shotgun on 3rd and 16 on our own 40-yard line.
oh, so you have Matt Canada as your
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of criticism about Graham Harrell and his third down play calling. But I think, when Ryan Walters was asked about this on his radio show, I thought he made a good point that we've had a lot more success moving the ball out of the shotgun that we have out of any other formation. 23 personnel, we can't move the ball. So I think, that it's unfortunate that we're having to go shotgun in these scenarios, especially on these 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s where we're going in shotgun. But, we all saw what happened earlier in the season when we tried to run these heavy formations and we couldn't move the ball. I mean, we got what was it against Fresno State where it took us 8 plays to move the ball a yard. I mean, so.
But also, I will say, running a QB draw of shotgun 3rd and 16 at the own 40-yard line is a long-term play. The chances of getting 3rd and 16 is less than 10%. I would rather take the draw, kick the punt, put him at the 2, than throw it 3rd and 16, get a pick, and have him at their 35.
Someone wants to choose to read this viewer comment. They can. That's funny. Yeah.
It's funny that. Okay,
I'm
I'll read
gonna
it.
refrain from any comment or response to
Yeah.
that. The Ohio podcast.
For anyone who's watching, they can read it. Yeah.
No
yeah.
I really want to read it.
Yeah.
Let it rip, dude. Who cares?
Okay. It says the Ohio podcast said, that's funny. The Turtleheads can say whatever they want on their podcast as well because no one listens to them.
Oh,
Ouch.
no, listen.
Boom, roasted.
They're tens of followers. They listen.
Ouch.
Their mothers, their aunts, their cousins twice removed. They all listen.
So I didn't get a chance to go on the Turtleheads because I was traveling for
you.
work.
Consider
But
yourself lucky.
You know the whole adage, like people from Cleveland always say, at least we're not Detroit. Like that's what I say. Like everyone's like, well, no one goes to IU football games. No one cares about IU football. At least we're not Maryland.
Yeah.
Like at least we're not Maryland football,
Yes, sir.
right?
Preach it. Preach it, Brandon. Preach it.
Yeah, that's yeah. Maryland football. They started out hot. They got really cocky.
Hey, guys,
and
but
then,
they're a basketball school. That's all we heard.
Yeah.
They're a basketball
UAB
school.
or whoever, UMBC, whoever they lost.
And yeah, I feel
Everybody. They
bad.
lost to everybody. Who
I
cares?
feel bad for Maryland. I really do.
I don't.
I don't.
Said nobody ever.
Yeah.
I love
Literal.
Brandon. You're a good. I like this. This is
Yeah.
fun.
No one said that about me.
We need. Oh yeah, they don't do basketball. Never mind.
I hear a comment here. Our
Wait.
special teams is even worse. That logic would apply if we were good. I'm not sure how far back that is. Another
so
comment
Nick,
here.
it's all probability, my man. Like I think I don't know if it was Dylan or if it was Chris who said it. Like you just don't draw. Like there's not many plays that you're going to pick up 16, 17, 18
That was
yards.
Chris.
No, there's not. Yeah, and especially when the defense knows that's what
Chris,
you
you are
need.
the smartest man. I just
Yeah,
like
easy. People are going to start expecting stuff
Other than
from me if you keep saying that.
Hey, poor man's Duke. That's right. It's a poor man's Duke. You should have seen when the Turtle guys were on Ohio's pod, the OHIO pod. Oh, Eric brought up poor man's Duke, and he just saw the brain just shut down. Like they had no response.
that implies there was a brain to shut down.
All three
I love
brain
it.
cells.
I love it. But everyone hates us, guys. Remember?
Yeah.
Everyone hates the Boiler Express. Everyone hates us.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't hate you guys. You guys are all right in my book.
Well, I appreciate
No,
it.
Hey,
no.
right back
This
at
has
you.
this has been
one of the-
amazing. This has been
Yeah, this
like,
has been a great show.
I've just for the most part, I've just sat and let you guys, the big brains, talk. I've just kind of, I've just watched and chimed in with my dumbness,
No,
we're
I
kinda-
definitely agree. Real quick, I agree with the sentiment that like it's like a 17-14 game, 14-10,
Oh yeah.
like maybe 21-17.
You know,
if there's
to be
like
fair-
defensive touchdown.
Every
But-
game this year, I always like I'm always bad at score predictions. So
Oh yeah, same.
I say Boilers by 1 billion every game. I don't think I'm going to say that this game.
Oilers by 1,000.
Oilers by
So
10.
I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be that low scoring. Do you guys know what the over under is?
I'm gonna say it's more than Iowa's game the other
Aren't
week.
you the
when it was
betting
like-
guy? What do we?
I will say it's 35.
Dude, guys, it's 53.5.
Holy shit!
Oh my god!
Yeah, so
Wow.
this game is going to be 27
Smash the
23.
under.
This is going to be 27-23, and I think IU wins. I do think they at the end of the day they have the healthier quarterback, they have the better wide receiver, and your strength we cancel out with our strength, right? So I don't see if you're checking boxes. I think IU checks more boxes in this game. The only thing that I think that it's either going to be a very close game and IU wins, or the team's completely quit on Tom and you guys blow us out 44-10. Like I think it's either going to be one of those two. Like IU knows its coach is fired, and the players are like, "I'm out as soon as this guy's out."
But does the coach know that?
What does Tom know?
Tom
What does,
Allen
like,
doesn't get fired.
He's gonna come back. They're gonna fire him, and he's gonna come back the next day like nothing happened.
Yeah, he wouldn't even know. He'd be like,
And see,
you know,
Brandon, I believe
he's too busy,
snapping and
snapping. He can't hear you. You're fired.
Brandon, I truly believe
Fired
when you
up.
predict an IU win, it's because you genuinely think that, right? Because
Correct.
you're a no BS kind of guy. Like if you thought IU was going to lose genuinely, I feel like you'd have no problem saying that.
Now it could be
Um,
44-10, gentlemen. Purdue.
yeah.
It very well could be 44-10. But if this game
Yeah.
is close, I'm giving it to IU because I just think they have the better players in the key positions to pull this thing out.
Dylan, what do you
Yo.
think?
You know, I said a few minutes ago that I wasn't gonna say Boilers by 1 billion, but what's that? Tom Allen's dad coached at Benton Central.
ew.
I'm not from there. I don't know what that
Yeah,
means.
that
I
means
know.
nothing.
Anyway.
I grew up in Western PA. I got
Yeah,
cool.
I know exactly what that means.
Congratulations, Nick. Way to bring some
Nick,
substance
They
to
had,
the podcast.
they had a graduating class of like 28 people. Like
Nick
it's all-
graduated? That's some more shocker.
no, Nick went to another school that had 28 people in their graduate.
Oh, that's half Indiana, isn't it? Anyway,
Dylan,
I love you, Nick.
prediction.
Earlier, I said I wasn't going to say Boilers by 1 billion, and Frank, you're going to have to edit this out. I'm sorry, but fuck it, Boilers by 1 billion.
Okay. No, I won't. I won't edit that one.
Why?
out. Yeah.
Why? Dylan, why?
Yeah.
Brandon, welcome to the Boiler Express podcast. I make no sense most of the time, and I'm so bad at predictions that I've coined the phrase "Boilers by 1 billion."
Commit
And
to the
it's
bit,
all-
my man. Commit to
The
the bit.
Indianapolis Indians, the minor league baseball team in Indy, said Boilers by 1 million, referring to the basketball team, of course. And I had to correct them and say it's Boilers by 1 billion, and they corrected it. So Boilers
So,
by
You got sway, my man.
Brandon,
You got
kind of
funny.
a big deal, Brandon. No,
Funny little story here. We did a collaborative podcast with an ACC school earlier this season, and he said Boilers by 1 billion, and the guy took it very literally. It was like he
legit
think-
thought I meant Purdue was going to score. 1 billion
yeah.
points.
It's like
You
It
can't
was
think
like-
stupid. Just look at the Maryland podcast.
Oh, Brandon.
Let's go,
My
Brandon.
God, who knew Maryland could unite an IU guy and Purdue
Hey,
guys?
I made that meme that I shared with the IU pod and the LEO pod.
There
you go.
we can
Look
learn
at us.
things.
We can.
Love everyone.
Maccabee.
so.
No.
I'm going in rotation. Chris, you're
Okay.
up next.
I'm going to say that while, yes, you have stopped some runs, overall, you're still subject to the ability to give up a lot. Do you see what I'm saying? So I think that, and Purdue's shown the ability to run the ball. I think that this is kind of, especially a Tracy style game where this is his last hurrah. I think he's going to try and go kind of nuts. And I think Hudson is kind of mad. One, that he missed that last game. And two, he's just been frustrated. And it showed a little bit in that that Minnesota game. He just looked super clean in terms of decision making and what he was doing. Ultimately, I will just quit rambling on. I think it's like a 21-17 Purdue win.
Okay, so just real quick. Do you guys ever heard of Blake Corum? Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
Have you heard of him? He ran for 13 times for 52 yards. You think this might be a Tracy game, right? Tracy might be a little similar to Donovan Edwards. Maybe you've heard of him. He ran 9 times for 20 yards.
Cool.
But there's also
you want me to
a
read
low
off
number
Nick
of carries there too, though.
It is. Do you want me to read off Nick Singleton's numbers, or maybe the Ohio State pod could read off Trayvon Henderson's numbers? My point is, guys, I think you're focusing on the wrong things. I really do. Like, you need Hudson Card to open this thing up. He could be at 60% and he'll throw for 250 yards, 300 yards. Just tell me. That's how you guys win this game.
And that's where I'm going with it. So I think that Hudson Card continues with his momentum from Minnesota. He showed a lot of confidence in his protection. He was a lot more decisive in his decision making, right? He was tucking the ball, he was running. He wasn't thinking about it. He wasn't running to the line of scrimmage, pump faking. He was just decisive, and he was making the right decision for the first time this season. We saw his decisiveness be where it was. So I'm actually going to predict another like 49-27 game where we actually hit the over in this one, just to play devil's advocate here, just so we get all possibilities covered. But I think that he rides that momentum that he has coming off of the Minnesota win, and it gets ugly in Purdue's favor.
And I will say, with the rush defense, I would respect it if it was ranked higher. But you're currently at 70th in college football. Your pass defense is 83rd. Like, it's not, I would be like, okay, you are 10th in rush defense and 83rd in pass. Yeah, all day long.
Because you're way too smart to just rely on that 30,000 foot view. Like, that's those things are you need to look at it more at a specific game level. The teams that want to run, there's going to be outliers. I mean, you guys have said there's outliers in Purdue's games in a college football season with teams that are 3-8. There's going to be outliers, right? So I don't know. I'd love to be wrong. It'd be the first time I ever have been. So, there's a first time for everything.
Yeah. Hey, and if we do run the ball, I mean, so one thing I think was interesting in those stats you just rattled off were just a low number of carries, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I'll be honest, I haven't watched the film of those games as in depth, but like, were those teams having a lot of success passing the ball? Were they ready to run? I mean, that's ultimately the question. Where
all right,
Purdue may commit to the run a little bit.
Here's
more.
a little wager.
All righty.
If Purdue wins,
I'm obviously a gambling man.
Yeah, I know. If Purdue wins, it's as simple, just a fun thing between banter brothers, so to speak. Purdue wins, you have to wear a Purdue hat on your podcast. IU wins, I have to wear a Purdue hat on this podcast.
Deal. Done.
Excellent.
Wait, did you Chris, did you mean to do that?
What?
And did you mean it? Because so he said if we run the ball well, he has to wear a Purdue hat on his.
No,
podcast.
I said if Purdue wins.
Oh, Purdue wins.
He has to wear a Purdue hat on his podcast.
And then you said if IU wins, you have to wear a Purdue hat on.
No, I said IU.
No, you said
okay. Well, what the hell I meant.
Yeah, I was like that was actually really smart.
Did you see how excited he got? Like, I have a little boy. He got really excited in that moment. I just let Chris have it. He fumbled a little bit.
No, for sure. Yeah,
I'm not good with
I
the
get
words.
to wear a Purdue hat on a Purdue podcast.
Yeah.
Ooh, man, what a bet.
Well, you know the damn bet I'm talking about.
It's like the heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we do have a viewer comment. One last thing,
right.
but there's nothing to follow it up. So I'm going to give you about 30 more seconds.
Damon, if you actually were on the podcast, you'd have one. Oh, never mind. You got it in. Who cares?
Since Lance Jones hit that crazy buzzer beater, are we going to recreate that shot every year for years to come? We're here talking football, Ultimate Boiler. We'll talk basketball soon. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All righty, boys.
Well,
Brandon from the LEO podcast.
Nailed it.
Thank you so much for joining us. This was a great opportunity to chit chat some sports, some football specifically, and thank you for being here. And it was a pleasure collabing.
You know what?
Absolute honor.
Everyone was like, "You're gonna hate this. The Boiler Express guys suck." And I gotta admit, you guys
We've
don't
been told.
Like, you guys don't. I mean, you know, I won't say what you guys are. But you guys don't suck.
Hey, there we go. We'll take
Hey,
it.
there we
We'll
go.
take it.
No, it's been great, guys. Seriously, thank you for having me on. This is some of the best like overall football discussion I've had in all the collaborations.
100%.
It was really good time. Love to be on again if you guys have me.
Oh yeah, for
Hey,
sure.
No,
Anytime,
absolutely.
brother.
Fantastic time.
Cool.
All right.
See you guys.
See ya.